Welcome to week 3 of the Essex Senior League Roundup with me, Sam Gardner. Before we get into this week's roundup, please make sure that you like this video and subscribe so you never miss one of these roundups. Also share it out to anyone you know who might be interested in this, someone involved in the Essex Senior League, a fan of one of the clubs in the league, you name it. Send this to them so that more people are viewing these videos. This week's Essex Senior League saw 9 fixtures, lots of goals, brilliant comebacks and some individual brilliance. So let's get right into the show. Started off then at Parslows Park, which saw SOUL Tower Hamlets come from 2 goals behind to defeat Athletic Newham by 3 goals to 2, in what was a brilliant result for them at the end of quite a difficult week, which saw a few senior players leave the club. It took Newham 2 minutes through Michael Chukwuma to take the lead, and that lead was doubled on the quarter-hour mark by Abdi Ali. 2 minutes later, though, Seoul found themselves back into the game through Sherman Artmaladze, and Garrett Kelly's penalty on the half-hour mark ensured that the two teams went in 2-2 at the break. And 10 minutes into the second half, Samir Bimutin scored what proved to be the winner on 54 minutes to secure a massive 3 points for Terry Spillane's side. Substitute Ramal Lawrence also saw red for Newham. Next up then, it was a 6-goal thriller at Maysbrook Park between Barking and Saffron Walden Town. Barking took the lead on 9 minutes when a set piece wasn't dealt with by Walden and a shot came in that hit former Blue Henry Mabassa and flew into the back of the Walden nets. 5 minutes later though, the Bloods were back on level terms when a corner wasn't cleared from Barkin and Farhad Nazor's header found the back of the net. Walden would go in 2-1 ahead at the break thanks to Jeff Cobbler's back post finish with 2 minutes to go until half time. It was a quick fire double from Tyrese Robertson that completely changed the game around either side of the hour mark to make it 3-2 to the hosts, but Sam Deering's brilliant free kick levelled the scores at 3-3. Both teams pushed for a winner, but in the end it was a 6-goal thriller to secure a point apiece for both sides. In a 2 p.m. kickoff at the Hive, it was Basildon United who fell to a 5-0 defeat at the hands of high-flying Great Wakering Rovers. Basildon United were also down to 10 as well, as Alfie Osborne saw red. That was after 27 minutes, and after that the floodgates seemed to open for Marcus Bauer's side, as a double from Max Nandy and a goal apiece for Harrison Topless, Ben Search and Luke Hurst ensured a 5-goal victory. 10-man Hackney Wick came from behind to defeat West Essex by 2 goals to 1 at Spa Road. Ethan Earnshaw gave the visitors the lead after 12 minutes, but Leo Lapasse found an equaliser 2 minutes later. Masopi Oguntuga gave the Wickers the lead after 34 minutes, but then they saw Khalil Brown dismissed for a second bookable offence just 5 minutes later. That meant that Hackney Wick would have to play the second half in its entirety with 10 men, but they held off the challenge of West Essex to secure a much needed 3 points. At the Royal Oak, Harwich and Parkston shared the points with bottom side Frenford. James Everley gave the host the lead after 20 minutes, which was cancelled out by a late equaliser from Frenford's Corey Davidson. A good crowd at the Royal Oak of 131 saw that one. Little Oakley continued their fantastic run of form at the top of the table with a 4-1 victory in a real statement win over another one of the league's form sides in Ilford at Cricklefields. Oakley were 3-0 up at the break thanks to goals from Jack Ladbrook, Taylor Jacoby and Dylan Ketley-Gregan. Michael Adu then pulled one back for Ilford shortly into the second half, but a late penalty from Luke Hipkin ensured a brilliant performance on the road for Little Oakley and a 4-1 victory. Mile End Stadium was the host for Buckhurst Hill, continuing their brilliant run of form as they defeated Sporting Bengal United by 3 goals to 1. Callum Maltese gave the visitors the lead on 21 minutes before a penalty in stoppage time at the end of the first half from Evander Lopez saw Bengal draw level. Arthur Massingham then gave Buckhurst Hill the lead early in the second half before Ivan Imasuin saw red for a second bookable offence for Bengal. That was before Tony Martin wrapped up the win for Mark Williams' side with 8 minutes to play. White Ensign hosted Romford at Burrows Park, and it was the away side who got a 2-0 victory. And I'm going to let good friend and fellow back post presenter Scott Waple describe what happened in this one. Scott says Romford emerged with a battling 2-0 victory over Ensign thanks to their grit and dealing with the slippery conditions better, utilising their experience. Borough took the lead on 62 minutes as an unfortunate handling error by Ensign goalkeeper Scammell sent the ball over the goal line. Before Ensign could settle, Romford doubled their lead only 2 minutes later thanks to a neat finish by forward Sonny Dusson after a good cross-in from the right flank. The visitors kept their belief and managed the game well to earn the points. So thank you to Scott for that summary. I'm going to leave a link to his report in the description below. Finally, at Ashton's in a rare 3 o'clock game on a Saturday for Woodford Town. It was Hullbridge Sports, the visitors, who came out with all 3 points after a 2-0 victory. Hullbridge in recent weeks have become one of the form teams in the league and took the lead shortly after the half-time interval through Kojo Apenteng, one of their newer signings. That victory was wrapped up in stoppage time as Leo Clark struck in the 94th minute to secure a massive 3 points for Hullbridge Sports and manager Mark Harrison. So that's all the results from Saturday the 31st of January. There are a few fixtures to talk of this midweek actually before we go into the main bulk of Saturday's fixtures. Let's see how many of these matches go ahead due to the recent poor weather in the area. But first up, tonight as I record this, Tuesday the 3rd of February, Basildon United host Sporting Bengal United. Basildon sit in 14th and in no real danger of relegation at the moment, whereas Bengal only sit outside of the relegation places by a point. So they'll be looking to get a massive victory at the Hive when they visit later. Housted Town, who have dropped out of the playoff places in recent weeks after a pretty poor run of form, welcome bottom side Brentford, so they surely would like to get back to winning ways in that one against a side who haven't won away from home all season in Brentford. Harwich and Parkston welcome Great Wakering Rovers up the Essex coast to Royal Oak. Great Wakering obviously pushing for that first place spot, while Harwich and Parkston, in this their first season at Step 5 in a number of years, are doing pretty well in mid-table. In a battle of the two form teams in the league, at Lower Road, Hullbridge Sports host Buckhurst Hill. Incredibly, Hullbridge have only won once all year at Lower Road, and they face a Buckhurst Hill side who are pretty good on their travels with 6 wins out of 10. So it should be an interesting battle, that one. Finally, in the Tuesday fixtures, it's a battle of 6th versus 5th at Caithn's Lane as Saffron Walden Town host Ilford. Walden are in a fairly decent run of form, while Ilford, of course, suffered that heavy defeat against Little Oakley at the weekend. On to the Wednesday fixtures now. First of all, at Mile End, SOUL Tower Hamlets, currently sitting 4th in the league, welcome 3rd place Barking. Tower Hamlets, of course, having a couple of games in hand due to extended cup runs. Barking picked up a decent home point at the weekend, but this should be a real stern test for them at Mile End Stadium. White Ensign welcome Hackney Wick to Burrows Park. In a battle of two mid-table sides, Hackney Wick sit in 10th, while their hosts sit 15th. Wick obviously coming off the back of a decent victory over West Essex, while Ensign will look to avoid 2 league defeats at home in a row. Finally, for the midweek fixtures, at Ashton's playing fields, Woodford Town, who are just about adjusting to life outside of the playoff positions, welcome top of the table Little Oakley in what I'm sure is probably the game of the week in midweek. Difficult place to go to for any team, but Oakley will be looking to keep up their brilliant run of form. And now on to the fixtures for Saturday the 7th of February, 9 fixtures in total. Let's start with the 2 o'clock game at Wadham Lodge as West Essex host White Ensign. West Essex currently 1 point adrift of safety, whereas White Ensign sit 15th. West Essex obviously not having a midweek game this week, while White Ensign of course host Hackney Wick on Wednesday night. On to the 3 o'clocks now, starting at Myrack Park, where Buckhurst Hill, in a very good run of form, I think unbeaten in 13 at time of recording, host a Harwich and Parkston side who've been a bit hit and miss this season, but they're quite happy to sit in 13th place at the time of recording. That could have changed by Saturday, of course. Bottom side Brentford host Benfleet, who've had a few issues with their pitch lately and a couple of postponements due to the weather. Benfleet are an outside shout for the playoffs, while Brentford desperately need to get some points on the board if they want to avoid relegation. Great Wakering Rovers welcome Sporting Bengal United to Burrows Park. In a battle of two sides with very contrasting fortunes at the moment, Wakering have top spot very much in their sights, while Bengal at the time of recording obviously only 1 point outside of the relegation spaces. Two form sides meet at Lower Road as Hullbridge Sports welcome Barking. Hullbridge, of course, have been galvanised recently by the appointment of Mark Harrison, while Barking are in good form of their own and currently sit 4th in the league. Another form side is Ilford, despite their 4-1 home defeat against Little Oakley last time out, and they welcome a mid-table Athletic Newham side to Cricklefields as they look to get their good run of form back on track. Top of the table, Little Oakley welcome Saffron Walden Town to the Memorial Ground, in what is traditionally a tricky place to go for Walden, while Little Oakley would look to consolidate their status at the top of the table. But they have to make do with a Walden side who've been very good on the road this season. Romford welcome Woodford Town in a bit of an East London derby at Maysbrook Park. Romford obviously not having the best season, but have just had a very good 2-0 win at Burrows Park against White Ensign, whereas Woodford Town have obviously dropped out of the playoff places in recent weeks and will be looking to get back there as soon as possible. And the final match this weekend is at Mile End as SOUL Tower Hamlets welcome Hackney Wick. Soul's form has dropped off just a little bit as of late, as they've let Little Oakley and Great Wakering both climb above them in the table, while Hackney Wick, I think, would be content with 10th at this point of the season, but obviously, like every other team, will be looking to get more points on the board. So obviously I've been referencing the league table a lot this video. Let's now have a look at it in all its glory. I think the title this season is probably between Little Oakley, Great Wakering and SOUL Tower Hamlets, who have a few games in hand. The playoff spaces are very, very interesting at the moment. Anyone from Ilford in 5th to around Hullbridge in 12th, who are 10 points off, but with a lot of games to go, I reckon could make the playoffs at this stage. Mid-table from 13th to around 17th is quite tight as well, as is the battle for relegation. You know, a couple of wins for Brentford could completely change the picture of the relegation battle this season. There's no real favourites to go down and there's no real favourites to go up. This has potential to be one of the most exciting Essex Senior League seasons in a very long time. So that's it for this week's roundup. As I said at the start of the video, please make sure you like this video, subscribe and share it around to anyone who you think might be interested. Enjoy your games this week and I'll see you next week. Take care.